Hi everyone. This is just some reflection on a question that Jonas and I talked about over the weekend, which is, what is financial freedom, or what is financial stability and success look like for us, and what is and I think it's really interesting because so we talked about it a little bit, but then later I got to think about it and write about it by myself, and what I found is that so I thought financial freedom to me, what would that mean on my daily life? I think one to me would be to spend more quality time, consistent quality time with Abim, and then hopefully, future children too. So what that means isn't necessarily that I spend the entire day with Abim, but that when I do, whether it's in the morning, in the middle of the day, or in the evening, that I am not exhausted, that I'm not distracted, that I'm really present with her, and I'm patient with her, and we can have fun, and we can have fun together, and we can have quality time together. We can read, she can learn, we can go outside, we can play something at home with Jonas and I, or whatever, but just quality time and not rushed, eat, we gotta go, put on your thing, we gotta go, stuff like that, which it's also part of life. But I guess I'm just saying, if I had more resources, I would want to make more time for Abim and I and Jonas to spend more quality time together, which is not rushed, which is more attentive to each other. That's one big thing I think that I would want. Another thing would be to have the option of not working. I like what I do, but I also find that it's very limiting in terms of the type of brain I have, and what I want to do, and the things that I think about. It's I am in the public and nonprofit fields or sector, and there's just a lot of red tapes everywhere that don't need to be there, but are there because of the people who with money who are funding these things tend to I guess feel that that's important, that they fund a particular way, or they try to hold people accountable a certain way. But pretty much what that leads to is a bunch of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, a lot of non-supportive to the human person that is in the work, but more pushing for particular things. Not a lot of clarity about who's in charge, who's making decisions. It's just not, I don't know. I mean, I navigate that, and I could do it, but I'm just saying, if I had money, then I wouldn't necessarily stay. And I would probably try to, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say I wouldn't work, but I want to work, but I would work more the way I want to work, rather than the way that my employer wants me to work, or any particular organization wants me to work. And I think that I feel like I could achieve more that way. I could have more influence that way. But so besides quality time, more quality time with my family, the other thing would be that I would also have more quality work or productivity time. And what I mean by that is instead of attending a bunch of meetings, maybe I spend more time thinking. Maybe I get to structure my work environment the way I want to structure it, which would be less meetings and a more thoughtful time everybody gets to have. Stuff like that, right? So that's what I would want. So optional work and more quality time with family. I would also like to improve my home in a way that I would love to see if we can move somewhere a little bit more safer, like physical safety wise, but it's still diverse in terms of racially diverse and income diversity, and still near like our parents. So I think that would be important, to live somewhere in that way. What's another thing? I think in terms of like helping other people, I talked about quality time with my immediate family of my kid and like my husband, but hopefully I could also make it so that I could have more quality time with my parents and my siblings. And particularly with my parents, the barrier to having more quality time is that they do a lot of work and it's hard to get them away from their environment. So like, what I mean is that like, taking them on vacation, or, in order for them to take a vacation, they need to feel financially more strong, or, just figuring out a way for them to have a more consistent additional income, so that they rely less on their job, so they feel more comfortable taking breaks and taking vacations and things like that. So that again, we can have that more quality time where it's not, we're not being distracted and tired and rushing and whatever else. So I think those are the type of ways that my life would be different. I would imagine the biggest thing is the job thing, like I think if I had enough money, then I would work differently. I would do more independent work, like create a podcast, write, try to teach, because I really want to teach, like community college or something, and so like do some teaching, like public health or something, just be more free agent and project based rather than this sort of organizational based. Like I would just be like, I'm the brand, I'm the organization, and I get to kind of take on different projects, like writing a book or having a podcast or creating a program like the Sunday COVID program or something like that, and just do different things and then hand them off to someone and move on and do something else, and not feel stuck to that one particular organization or project. That would be my kind of wish, and I feel like I'm not being comprehensive with this response, but I guess it's not really meant to be. It's just more like what stood out to me is like having more quality time, not as much rushed. And I think after saying all that, then I think, if that's the case, if what I want to do, if I had more money is that, then I wonder how I can make time for that even now. So the whole idea of having more quality time with Abim, I guess I'm thinking about like, how do I make that happen now? Because you never know what's going to happen with finances. Like, I don't know, maybe my student loans will be forgiven at some point. I don't know, maybe not, who knows? So much uncertainty about finance, and so much of it is out of our individual controls. Like, I'm all for saving money and not spending and living minimum so that you have more whatever, eating at home, stuff like that a lot of the financial gurus say. I'm totally into that, and I try to practice that. But I totally also just understand, or for myself anyways, that so much of financial challenges that come to us, it's really not in our control. The fact that my field in public health and public policy is paid so little, and even though I have like 2 masters, that's not something I could control. Obviously I could have chosen something else, but again, that's also a whole other thing that it's just complicated. I just think that it's more than just individual people just putting on their bootstraps and just being like, I'm gonna save, I'm not gonna buy a bunch of things that I don't need. All of that is great, but in the end of the day, that's not what's gonna lift people out of poverty or economic insecurity. That's my belief anyways, so take it or leave it. But so I think given that, I'm like, there's no way to guarantee that like we will have more money at a certain point in our life, or we would retire early, or any of those things. So it's kind of like, okay, well, let's just think about what we think is going to happen if we had more money and try to figure out ways to make that happen now. So for more quality time, like, what would it take to do that? I think one of the things it would take for me is to do less stuff. Like, I get excited about a lot of projects, but like I need to figure out a way to like do less things, delegate it away, be okay with imperfection. So that's what I'm interested in too, is like, of course I will plan and try to figure out, like, try to like meet with financial advisors and stuff and figure out like, okay, how could we get to a point where we don't have to rely on our job for our sustenance of life. And so we're definitely on the road of like considering what that is, and we've already done so much work as a family, like figuring out our finances, figuring out what's our priority. And like one of the great things about it is a lot of it we agree on. We have similar values. Like, we're not really into spending a lot. We're okay doing things like buying things that are used, or asking people if they have, all of these things where we have very similar values about money in that way. Not exactly the same, but similar, I would say. And so we have similar goals financially. I think that what is different is sort of how we want to get there. We have different strengths, like, Jonas and I, what I kind of like how I think about getting money and what I think I could do to make money is different than like what he wants to do, and that's fine. I think those are good things. But yeah, so again, though, no matter how well we play our cards, you never know who knows what like economic depression might come up. Who knows how this COVID thing is going to really impact our retirement saving, the little that we have, like we really don't know. So it's like good not to pretend like you're as in control as we all want to think that we're in control, but a lot of the times there's a lot of outside forces that we don't have control over. So trying to figure out, okay, we will plan and we'll do all the right things that we can, and we will also just figure out a way to break the mold, or this feeling that we can't have what is healthy for us until we have money. You know what I mean? Like we can. And I think a great example is like how a lot of Ethiopians, like in Ethiopia, how they live, there's a lot of like poverty, you could say, and then at the same time there's so much joy, there's so much community, there's so much quality time. You know what I mean? And so how can we do that? And again, that's also hard because of the society we live in is very busy. It's very like, you're judged by how busy you are. If you're not busy, then it's like, oh my God, you're wasting your time or whatever. So it's not easy, but like as a family, we try to figure out like, okay, we don't have to be the number one anything. We just do what is healthy for us. We don't have to be famous. We don't have to be rich. We could still be a family that is healthy and supportive of each other, and that's also good enough, and maybe more than good enough. So I think it's a battle of the mind, and like trying to resist what the outside world is telling us we need to have or need to be. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking about, and I feel good about our journey so far financially in terms of what we're doing to keep ourselves financially stable and all of that stuff. But yeah, I hope that made sense, and I hope that wherever you are, that you do your own analysis of like money, and how is money, if you had more of it, how is it going to change your life? And then, do the financial guru stuff, and then also consider like how much of that is really how much of that is gonna be really, really important, or is it something that where you can, I'm like so tired or something. Yeah, so just something to think about, and to reflect for yourself as an individual, but also as a family, and thinking about like how much of the money question comes from outside pressure, or how much of it do you feel like you really want to be rich, and for what reason? Of course, having more money is generally a positive thing, because I heard a really good quote that said money is a tool, it's not a destination. And that's so powerful, because it's true. It's like, okay, you have more money, then what, right? So it's more about like what you're doing with it that counts. And it's a tool. So it's a tool to what? To pursue your values. That's what it is, to pursue your purpose. So if you had more money, I don't know a lot of people who are very wealthy, but Seattle has a lot of wealthy people, and I do happen to like run into folks once in a while in my life, and there are people that I know that have a ton of money, but I just don't understand from the outside, and of course, like, I don't know their real life, but from the outside, I'm like, why do you need so much money? Like, what are you doing with it? That it's a tool. So again, yeah. So if I had the money, I might do something different, and then that individual might do something else with it, right? So it's just a tool. Anyways, I hope that made sense. I think it did. It did to me, and I hope that it inspires you to think about your own money and finance, and how you think about it, and what you hope for your family. So, all right, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.